Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, the Braves found a way to get it done.
And the rookies kicked off off-season activities last week in the branch. Now the veterans have joined them, but who has the most questions to answer on which side of the ball?
And last but not least, and for the culture, the Atlanta Hawks acknowledge a very special young man. That's all next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And when you think about what happened last night, T, the fact that the Atlanta Braves were able to pull this bad boy off in traditional way, beating the Dodgers 4-3 in walk-off fashion. Ozzie Albies hit a sac-fly to bring in Austin Riley, who led off the ninth inning with a double. And when you think about Travis d'Arnaud coming in, hitting the ball opposite way to move Austin Riley over, and then Ozzie Albies comes in and does his thing, T. And this is all coming from a team that leads the National League in home runs per game. You gotta give your tip your cap to the Atlanta Braves because they just figured out a way to get it done last night.
And I felt like it was a full display. We talked about that for them working in all cylinders or on all cylinders. The defense was stellar. We didn't see any errors like we saw the night before, which was great. And the guy that actually put the Braves in that situation, that egregious situation, Matt Olson, said, you know what? I'm going to right that wrong by blasting a 456-footer over the chop house to get us started with our scoring. So Matt Olson definitely redeemed himself. And hopefully this will be maybe a resurgence for him as we go into that Memorial Day weekend and really, really begin to ratchet things up for the Braves, right? But I think that you made a great point about, and I know we'll talk about pitching in a moment, so I'll go to the batting part of it. Mm-hmm. Such maturity, such intellectual astuteness, and such understanding of what the importance of situational at-bats, right? So it's so funny. Our guy, Grant McCauley, tweeted out just before Austin Riley was up to bat, boy, this would be a nice time for a walk-off home run from Austin Riley. But how cool is it that he still gave you a double that put you in position to then have Travis d'Arnaud hit the grounder, get you to third. And then, like you said, Ozzie Albies says, hey, all I need to do is get that ball deep enough to get Austin Riley in. So, yeah, absolutely love what I saw from the bottom of the order, because we know that the top of the order has been doing its job consistently. But to me, this is a great way. I know we've got a couple more days in May and, of course, a big series coming up with the Phillies, but a really great, hopefully, start for the bottom of the order to get back to what we're accustomed to. Because, as you mentioned, a walk-off win for the Braves is quite traditional. Yeah, we're accustomed to Ronald Acuna Jr. doing his thing in the leadoff position, and maybe it depends on which day of the week it is or which team it is, who's going to be in cleanup. But the bottom of the order was the call of the day, not just last season, but the last couple of seasons. So, yeah, I like this because this takes us back to what looks like the Braves of old and what I believe will keep them on top, battling back and forth for that top spot in the National League with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think that, that bottom of the order includes our guy, the rookie of the year, who we talked about, who's been struggling as of late, and he was able to get off the schneid last night, got a hit last night. So that is so good to see, and you hope this is the beginning of a nice little run because we're right around the anniversary when he got a call up last year. So maybe mentally he was like, all right, now I can start my season. Now I can get things popping off, and I think that Michael Harris is going to definitely do that. No reason to believe that he won't. Now, we got to talk about Bryce Elder, T, because I tweeted out last night. I was just like, who would have thought as we are ramping up to Memorial Day? Because, hey, we're going to be off that day, so, hey, guys, we'll be back on Tuesday, but we'll be off, just to let you know. But as we get ready to ramp up to Memorial Day, T, I was thinking to myself, I was like, who would have thought that Bryce Elder would be Mr. Consistency in this starting rotation? Because in the month of May, T, He is killing it. 1.84 ERA. That is absolutely ridiculous in today's game.
And to think that that's the ERA for May, but that his overall ERA is 2.01, best in the National League. Now, that's the more impressive thing, because that speaks to the consistency that you just mentioned. And of course, this is just a funny sidebar. And yeah, this is a little bit of shade, but who would have thought Marcell Ozuna would have been one of the most consistent hitters for the Braves in the month of May? But just moving right along back to our guy, Bryce Elder. I just had to throw that in there for kicks and giggles. Yes. Yeah, Bryce Elder being a big part of why the Dodgers stranded folks, why there were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position last night. You've got to attribute most of that to him. And the fact that he really, of course, Nick Anderson, he gave up a couple runs, but ultimately speaking, when you look at the bookends, and I want to say Marcell Iglesias as well, right? Marcell Iglesias getting a strike and essentially putting the Braves in position to be able to get a walk-off win in the bottom of the ninth. That's so critical, because you get him doing his job, the back bookend, but more importantly, Bryce Elder doing his job front bookend, because Brian Snitker says it all the time. All you want is for that starter to give you 6 solid innings, taking that pressure off the bullpen, especially when you're going into a 4-game series against the Phillies, the first of the season. So this is another test for the Braves, and you just have to love that Bryce Elder is literally, he was the guy who was like, I don't know, he was almost like the forgotten man in spring training. Like, is he even going to make the roster? Like, is he going to end up in AAA? Is he going to, I mean, he was like gunning for the 5th spot in the rotation. And now just as injuries would have it, he's now the 3rd. But boy, just to see him say, you know what, I'll step up to the plate and I'll do exactly what I have to do. And it's what you needed, because one thing for sure, just from a mental perspective, Jarvis, you really don't want to go into that Philly series knowing that you just got swept by the Dodgers.
Yeah, because we don't like the Dodgers. That's where we are right now. We don't like the Dodgers. We don't like Freddie Freeman. I'm telling y'all, I need to get on this board, because he don't give a crap. He's trying to kill the Braves each and every time he steps out on the diamond. So yeah, and to your point earlier, Marcell Ozuna in the month of May, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, and he's on top of that 328 batting average. So yeah, he heard us. He's listening, and I keep listening, bro, and keep producing. So that's kind of where I am with it now. Like, we talked about this a little bit. I think we mentioned it earlier in the week about Michael Soroka and how he's been putting together some nice performances. But this might be a little bit of a sign of some things to come, I feel. Brian Snitker said that reports were positive and, quote, it's all heading in the right direction. When and if we need him, he'll be ready. Is this Snit telling us that Michael Soroka is going to be getting the call pretty soon?
Oh, I definitely think so. I think that he is like kind of sort of, I don't want to say had it up to here. So we'll maybe say had it up to here with this whole bullpen game situation. Like, you just can't go into, you just can't.
They aren't pretty. They're ugly.
Right. You can't go into that Memorial Day stretch with bullpen games, because now you're starting to really get into the thick of your schedule. This is your first time playing the Phillies. As an example, you got him at home. Yeah, you have got to start shoring up that rotation. And when you're able to get something good out of Jared Schuster, woohoo! When you're able to get something good out of Dylan Dodd, woohoo! But your bullpen games really have been working for you of late. So at some point, you just got to say, okay, I know that I'm getting what I need from Spencer Strider. For the most part, I'm getting what I need from Charlie Morton.
Yes.
I'm getting what I need from Bryce Elder. But wait a minute. There's still essentially a hole to fill. And so, I think when you look at him as he's getting that pitch count up, that's something that Brian Snitker has talked about. Like, as we get him closer to getting his pitch count up, the closer he gets to 100, the closer I feel confident that he's ready to rock. So for him to say that he feels like if we need him to be, he'll be ready. And also, Alex Anthopoulos said almost the exact same thing. I feel like, okay, those are our tips. We're being tipped off by the GM, being tipped off by the skipper. Michael Soroka, I don't know if it's going to be this weekend, Jarvis, but I would not be surprised if it's this weekend, and certainly wouldn't be surprised if we get him if the Braves get him back in the rotation to begin the month of June.
And he hasn't been in the major leagues or pitched a game in the major league since August of 2020. It has been quite some time, and I will definitely have my front row seat right there with my popcorn, because I am so pulling for this man, because this guy is was a special being when he came on the scene. And I think that going through what he went through, I think Michael Soroka is more than ready to make that his debut. And I'm here for it, all for it. Now, coming up next, though, your boy was on site yesterday, T. OTAs, practice. I have my thoughts. We'll discuss those next. But first, we got to talk about Built Bar because it is the #1 protein bar in America. You guys have been rocking with us each and every day, and we are #1 in your hearts. So why don't you get with the #1 protein bar? That's Built Bar because they have all the flavors. They got all the things you need as far as the protein. They have 17 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar. They got all the flavors that you want. I'm talking about churro, peanut butter brownie, the coconut. They got all those things, just the pure brownie. And they got the puffs. Oh my God, the puffs. They're so good. They're so great. It gives me a nice pick-me-up when I'm going to the gym and I'm trying to get my body and my life together. So guess what, though? Got a new thing for you. If you like to go pick it up at the store, you can go to Walmart, get the 4-bar box. If you have a nice little per se. Or if you want to go to Sam's Club, you can get the big boy box. That's what I get down with. That's my get down. If you don't want to get the big boy box, that's cool. But if you do, make sure you go to Sam's Club and get you a Built Bar. And always remember, you can go to built.com and get yourself, you can order it today.
Yeah. And listen, I would really appreciate if you guys on the east side and the southwest side would go get yourself a Built Bar because I don't really like you jamming up my gym space. So yeah, get a Built Bar. That way you won't have to be in the gym as often. Yeah. PSA for your girl. Thanks.
All right.
Now,
a little personal there.
Yeah. Triggered. Sure am. Yeah.
So
go get a Built Bar and that way I can get my workout on. Please and thank you. But speaking of workouts, off-season activities and workouts continue in the branch. Of course, we know that rookie mini camp was last week, and now we got the veterans back in the building. And Jarvis, you had an opportunity to get out to Flowery Branch yesterday. So I wanted to know just some quick insights from you, some quick observations with the opportunity for you to see up close both those rookies, but also some of the new guys who are in camp for the Falcons this season.
Obviously, Calais Campbell, because, for me, I'm used to seeing big people because, hey, I've been 6'5", 330 pounds all my doggone life. So, I'm not too taken aback by, big people because, that was the big thing yesterday. But, however, T, when you got a chance to walk up on the man, Calais Campbell, that dude ain't small at all. The man is a big man. And I think that, he's the type of guy that, you could tell he's a veteran. He's a guy that's super insightful, a student of the game, and you got to love guys like that. If you really a big fan of football, the nuts and bolts of it, you're going to really like a guy like Calais Campbell. And all he has to do is just perform on the field. You know what I mean? Because, hey, that's kind of where we are right there with this team because I think that he was a good guy to talk to and get some insight from because I think that when I asked him about, just the whole rotation thing and, the multiple type defenses, because that was really my thing yesterday, trying to look at who they had out there in different formations and different they weren't even doing third downs and situation like that, but just line up against the offense, kind of see who's out there. So I think that, with Ryan Nielsen as the defense coordinator of this squad, I really feel like he's going to be tested early on. And that's going to be, and the test is going to figure out what this rotation looks like, who's going to be in on what down, because do you have Lorenzo Carter in? Do you have Arne Ebiketie in on 3rd and long? Or does D'Angelo Malone come in at stand-up linebacker in that nickel spot? And for Troy Anderson from time to time, how does that work? And I think that figuring out this rotation is going to be something that I feel like is going to be very crucial for the Atlanta Falcons early on, because like I said, at the end of the day, guys going to shine. And then by the midseason, you'll know who's going to be in there. But I think how you start and who you put in from the get-go, that's going to be very important for Nielsen going forward as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point because Ryan Nielsen is new, and 6 of the 11 guys that he'll be working with as the projected starters, that is, they're new as well. So when I think about where my eyes will be when I get an opportunity to see those guys up front and personal next week, I'll be paying a lot of attention to the defense as well, because again, if you have 6 out of 11 starters who weren't with this organization, this franchise last season. And 2, this is only their second time with the second year rather with the Falcons and their first year under Ryan Nielsen. To me, that's really where the eyes should be in terms of the side of the football where you may have the most questions to answer. So in addition to having new players, have your defense that are projected starters are brand new, it's also seeing within those 6, what are they actually going to bring to the table? Like you said, with Calais Campbell, how much will we really see him play? Like, what are the percentages? What are the situations that he'll be put in? David Onyemata, is he finally going to be that guy that is going to be right alongside Grady Jarrett and really kind of wreaking havoc up front? Does he finally get that? You look at Caden Ellis and it's like, okay, got some better help at linebacker, but how good is better? And I think about Jesse Bates. When you pay that much money to get that guy, he absolutely, positively better deliver. And then Jeff Okudah is someone who you're looking at as the possible opportunity to show that, hey, he can be that guy who was drafted in the top 5?
3 overall. Yeah,
exactly. Number 3, right? Yeah. So you see a guy in Jeff Okudah whom you're hoping can get back to that status with maybe health, maybe some better players around him, maybe some better coaching. But yeah, Jarvis, if it's me, I'm thinking I'm with you. I'm asking Calais Campbell the questions because that's where I think the opportunity to improve the most and the questions to be answered the most are on that side of the ball.
Absolutely. I'm with you because, and here's another question. Here's another thing. I got a chance to talk to Troy Anderson yesterday as well, because like, let's just hypothetical. Let's throw a hypothetical at you right here. If Dean Pease was still here, oh my goodness. Like I would be so comfortable with all last year. And those who don't understand what I mean, he made lemons out of lemon. He made lemonade out of lemons. You know what I mean? Like he squeezed all the juice that he could out of that roster, that talent that was on that roster last year. So for him to be able to come into a year where he's truly upgraded, damn near at every position on out of that starting 11, I think that, I wouldn't be too concerned. But like you said, you got a guy who's going to be calling plays for the first time. Like I know he was a co-defensive coordinator. Talked to my guy Ross Jackson, but he did not call plays. Dennis Allen called plays last year. He just had the title or whatever. So of course he comes up with the game plans, but it's different when you sit in that seat. When you move one seat over and start calling plays, coming up with the game plans and calling plays on Sunday is just a different beast. So I think that with all of these new additions, with this new defensive coordinator, I'm not concerned, but like I said, I am definitely going to keep an eye on these guys, especially when they opened up against the Carolina Panthers in a divisional game.
Yeah, and in addition to a new coordinator who's both the new DC for the Falcons and a new DC overall, half your squad that is projected to be starters, half of them are brand new to your franchise as well. Another third of them are just second-year players who are now on their second defensive coordinator. You also have those little pieces in play where you and I and many have had questions like, okay, what are we going to see out of Taquan Graham? Are we going to be able to see him stay on the field and be productive? Richie Grant, same thing. And then you're looking at somebody like Arnold Ebiketie and you're like, okay, are we going to see AK do what we thought he could do? Are we going to see AK things? But I also think I lean to the defense because of the stability on offense, right? You do have Arthur Smith and Dave are going that 1-2 punch back again. And you do have them with multiple weapons that they've already had familiarity with, and weapons like Desmond Ridder and Drake London. And to the extent that he could, of course, just off the field, Kyle Pitts, but all of that continuity for them, Cordero Patterson, there's just so much continuity on the offense. I feel more confident that they're going to produce and that they have nowhere else to go but up. And I say that in a positive way. That's a compliment to them because I thought that they had weapons last year, but I still feel like on some level we saw some overachievement because we didn't expect that out of Tyler Algier. We didn't expect that out of CP, but we got it. So I'm still really more confident that they're going to show improve and have a few less question marks. But speaking of the offensive side of the ball, I know that there was an interesting comment that came out of Flowery yesterday from our guy Drake London, where there was a question around the concept of positionless football. And it's very interesting because that's a concept that in a basketball space we've heard for the last several years, that, you have players who can go from the 1 to the 5. But when you start talking about positionless football, kind of heard that comment thrown around last year. I think you, as well as I, thought that's a very interesting concept. But that said, the Falcons might be one of the teams that is best equipped to be a positionless offense.
And I agree, because here's the thing. A lot of times, when Arthur Smith first came in, I kind of, I like to kind of watch the formation, how they start games and everything like that, and kind of look at how he's kind of set, defenses up, so to speak. I really feel like that's kind of his sticking point. Like that's kind of like his mantra. Like he wants to dictate defensive coverages by the type of formation that he throws at. Because like if you're running Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Mac Hollins, and you have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, in a specific formation, like it's gonna be hard for a defense to look at that personnel and be like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Like, are you gonna come out at 12 personnel, or how are you gonna do this? So, and where is Bijan Robinson going to be lined up? So, and I think that's the point of what I feel like Drake was trying to make, because I asked him the question about having all these weapons and all that thing, all of those things, and kind of what the expectations are coming into the season. And when you think about that from a defense coordinator standpoint, that's gonna be tough. Like and at the end of the day, it's really all gonna fall on Desmond Ridder to maybe just make sure. All you gotta do is just get everybody the rock. Like, get the rock and don't turn it over. I feel like they're gonna be able to, give everybody that comfort and peace that we have right now because of what they've established, and they got the same people coming back calling plays and everything like that. I feel like that whole positionless football piece is just for essentially, it's just like, all right, we're gonna be able to throw a whole bunch of formations at you. That's all that is.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that concept. And also Tyler Algier talked about his excitement with the opportunity to play with a guy like Bijan, because he feels like he can learn from him. And that takes it back to a question that I asked Bijan when we had an opportunity to meet him. Just had he had a chance to speak with the veterans, and what was the conversation like? And he talked about FaceTiming with Tyler and how they both are like, man, I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm looking forward to working with you, because there's something that we can bring to the table as a 1-2 punch. And like you said, you can legit line up the 1-2 punch however you so choose and actually get productivity out of them. So I think that, again, it's going to be very intriguing, and it's going to be quite a job for those defensive coordinators to figure out, okay, what is it that they're going to run? Heck, they can, like you said, they can run 12, 13 personnel if they feel like it, because you do have a Jonnu Smith. And so you can do all sorts of things, even with the tight end room that maybe a lot of teams don't have. So continue to see, just not only know that the versatility is there on paper, but the fact that these guys are embracing that, hey, I'm going to be expected to do more than just what the position is listed as for me on the depth chart. I think advantage Falcons. So yeah, love to see it. But what do you guys think about that, everydayers? Are you excited about the concept of positionless football and the possibility of that giving the Falcons an advantage against defenses in this next season? Are you excited about this defense, or do you have questions about them? And if so, where do your questions come from? Is it having a DC who's never been officially the DC? Is it the fact that more than half of that defense is a new look defense for the Falcons? Let us know. Check us out on YouTube like you always do. Drop it in the comments. And if you got a good one for us, we're going to bring it up on ATL Day Ones. And of course, listen, I've got a lot of driving to do today. I got to go up north to John Creek's east side to Athens and back down to Atlanta. So if you got driving like that, go on and download our podcast wherever you downloaded your podcast, because then you can listen and have a wonderful drive all around Atlanta Metro.
Absolutely. The sultry voice of Tenitra, Batiste, and whatever my voice is. Yeah. Go ahead and check us out right there. But this is For the Culture, is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. When you think about, we've had plenty of conversations about mental health and and making sure that, when you don't feel right, make sure, you say something, or don't harbor all of those feelings inside, or go talk to a professional, or have a person that you can be safe with to kind of reveal some of the things that may be going on with you. I think this is the perfect story to speak to that, because we talked about the generational piece of being raised to not say something and all that. And I think Takari Tatum a young man. He's 11 years old. He had actually published a book talking about mental health because it helped him get through his situation where his grandfather had passed away during the pandemic, and he, really focused on processing things and really being able to deal with things. And I think that was absolutely great. Now, one step further, the Atlanta Hawks, they took it a step further. They surprised him and bought 50 copies of his book, and they hooked him up with some swag as well. How about that, T? The young man, 11 years old, out here making sure that people understand, like, it's okay for you to talk about these things. I absolutely love it.
And a child will lead them. That's what that word says. So I
Indeed.
really, really love that he's saying that. And I also love the fact that it's a young man, because that's such a difficult thing sometimes for men or males to actually admit that they're having some challenges. And I was just having a conversation last night about how much of an impact the pandemic had on all of us. And some of the remnants are still here. So I appreciate him. And I also appreciate the Hawks for acknowledging it, because when you, as an organization of male basketball players, acknowledges that, then that normalizes the conversation. So yes, so proud of little Mr. Tatum, and also appreciate the Hawks for acknowledging him and saying thank you, to the point where, hey, we're going to buy these books to support you, and we're going to spread the word about the great thing that you're doing to shine a light on something that many of us, if not all of us, at some point have had a challenge here and there in our mental. And it's always good to know how to get to the other side.
Absolutely, T. And also to kind of shine a light on, one of the better performers in the history of music, Miss Tina Turner, dead at the age of 83. Rest in peace to her. When you think about what she went through and all her dealings with Ike Turner and being married 16 years and have to literally start over, I feel like, we lost a good one, T, when you talk about the impact that she had and the role model that she was for women who may have been going through the same thing that she was going through.
Yeah, and she may have been one of the first artists to reinvent. She invented the reinvention, because artists now, they go back and forth between genres, they act, they sing, they write, they do all kinds of things. But she was the original who said, you know what? I was known for kind of being this kind of rock and soul type, but it was still more soul than it was rock, if you will. And then she connects with Erwin Bach and some other producers who, of course, ended up being her husband, but she connects with some others who see the talent, the ability. I was listening to some of her kind of top 5 favorites, if you will, even going back to Proud Mary. But then you think about what she did to remix What's Love Got to Do with It, to the point where you forgot Al Green even ever made the song. But she would start off in the lowest register possible, and it was so smooth, and she would crescendo that thing until by the time she got to the hook, it's like, man, like she just had so much power, but it was controlled power. And for her to be able to do it at the highest level for so long, just really great that we had the opportunity to just be in her presence in some way, shape, or form. And I can remember having fun with it myself, because many years ago, it was at a talent show that I won, because I did my best reenactment of Proud Mary. And so I just love
Is there a video of this?
That's where it was. New Jersey. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah. See, I'm telling y'all, one of these days I'm gonna catch T slipping, because these New Jersey, I keep hearing about this New Jersey days, and she won't tell me about it. So every day is, make sure y'all drop a comment in the comment box. T, tell us about New Jersey, because I've been trying to get her to do it, and she just won't do it. I'm sorry, but T, tell us what we got coming up tomorrow, because I ain't getting nowhere with this.
Won't tell you guys about Jersey, but I will tell you guys about a mission that I am on tonight. And if I get it popping, I cannot wait to tell you about it in the morning. And that is a mission to get over there to Truist Park and see what the Braves are talking about with these darn bobbleheads. Like, I got to get one of those Outcast bobbleheads, but more important, the Braves got to get a W tonight. And we certainly hope that Dylan Dodd can make that happen for them in the beginning of a 4-game series. So we'll talk about that. Any more word coming out of Flowery Branch, some reaction on the continuation of off-season activities. And if there's any more word about what's going on, whether that is Hawks or whether the Heat go on and dead this thing on the Eastern Conference side of the NBA Finals, we will bring it all to you tomorrow. So make sure that you guys enjoy the beautiful day here in the A and come back and check us out tomorrow.
And last but not least, before we get out of, make sure that you guys share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.